Welcome back. Social service practitioners and labour economists in Singapore have identified an emerging class of what's termed the working poor. They say it's a problem that needs to be addressed against the backdrop of an ageing and shrinking population and argue that more can be done to raise the pay of low-wage workers. Imelda Saad has this week's Spotlight story.
According to the latest Forbes Singapore Rich List, the country now has a record number of billionaires. In 2012, Forbes ranked Singapore as the third richest country in the world. Unemployment is also considerably low, at an average of 4.1% over the decade from 2001 to 2011, compared to 7.1% among developed countries. But here in Singapore, having a job does not guarantee that a person isn't poor. 36-year-old Muhammad Yatim Hassan gets by on a take-home pay of $1,000 a month as a junior technician. He's the sole breadwinner for a family of 6 after his wife quit her job because of a medical condition. Each month, they find themselves barely making ends meet. $262.50 goes to transport, $50 to childcare, $69 to rent, $177.50 to utilities and conservancy charges, $96 for phone bill, $128 for the children's allowance. The bulk, $520, goes to food and groceries. That's a total of $1,303. With a household income of just $1,000, it leaves the family about $300 short each month. Lunch, when I visited them, was a simple meal of tofu, minced chicken and hot dogs.
We have to maybe have one or two, mainly maybe one dish. We have to calculate, for example, the marketing that we buy every month or every 2 weeks, right? Can it last for this whole 2 weeks, or it can actually last maybe lesser than 2 weeks? Then we'll have to think about where can I get the extra money to again go for marketing and stretch out.
So just who are the working poor? Currently, the median household income per member is $2,127. Labour economist Hui Weng Tat says someone whose disposable income falls below 60% of that figure is considered a working poor. That's anyone earning $1,276 or below. There's a growing number of people earning low wages. In 1996, 27% of the working population was earning below 2/3 of the national median. In 2012, the figure went up to 32%. The gap between the rich and poor is also widening. In 2000, the salary of the top 10% of earners was 6.1 times that of the bottom 10%. 12 years later, it rose to 7.8 times. The gap between what a household received and spent between 1987 and 1988 per member was about $47. 20 years later, that figure went up more than 10 times to $490 for those in the lowest 20% income distribution.
It's certainly a concern because if you have persistence of working poor and a high proportion of working poor, it means therefore that there are people out there who may feel who are unable to meet their expenditure, their incomes, what they earn is not enough to finance what they spend. At the same time, then you have problems of social mobility.
So what has happened? Well, experts attribute it to several factors, everything from globalization, technological change, an increasing number of low-paying jobs from the services sector, and an over-reliance on foreign labour, pushing down wages.
You may hold down a job, but that does not mean that you can get by with regards to your daily living or your medical costs or cost of taking care of an elderly parent. And I think that's where people fall through the cracks.
For families who are not on government aid and who may fall through the cracks, it's usually the social service sector that steps in. The Singapore Red Cross plugs a gap with its recently launched food aid program. It's targeted specifically at families who fall through the social safety nets. Each month, such families get about $250 worth of groceries. 20 families are now in the program and the wait list is long, currently standing at about 200. Sometimes there are success stories like the next one you'll hear. Mr. Abdul Hamid Razak saw his pay increase by 3.5 times in a span of just 1.5 years after getting help from the Southeast Community Development Council. But his success is also very much the result of his own grit and determination. The birth of his daughter prompted him to action. At Southeast CDC, Mr. Hamid was attached to a career consultant who identified his skills gap. On his own, he took up a Class 3 driving license and diploma in security management. Today, he's a security operations executive earning more than $2,000.
Everything I plan, then few days work, then go to course. In between, I will squeeze in the driving license. Then I got free time. Then I just spend time with my family. So I struggled about 6 months, so now I have a stable job.
Now, at the national level, the government has introduced various schemes to uplift the pay of low-wage workers. For example, through the progressive wage model, aimed at increasing the salaries of workers in sectors such as the cleaning industry and healthcare through the enhancement of skills and productivity. There's also the Workfare Income Supplement Scheme, where the government tops up the wages of low-wage workers. And under the $100 million Inclusive Growth Program, companies get up to 50% funding if their business embarks on productivity improvement projects. The catch? Employers must share productivity gains with low-wage workers earning $1,700 or less per month.
They are expected to submit to us documents of proof to show that the workers has enjoyed the wage gain as what they have committed. At the same time, they also must show us the productivity gain that they have enjoyed as a result of whether it's automation or process redesign.
42-year-old Lau Lai Hock saw his pay jump by 13% after his company invested in a $100,000 machine that's set to enhance productivity fivefold. From a starting pay of just $1,000 as a general worker 7 years ago, Mr. Lau is now earning $1,800 as a landscape technician.
So with less worker, we are doing more projects, more works. That's how we actually get our increment.
Moving forward, social service practitioners say there needs to be better coordination between voluntary welfare organizations and government agencies to tailor-make plans that will help break down barriers for those in need. Observers say it is through this many helping hands approach that best ensures no family falls through the cracks.
And this has been Eng Huat Tonight. Have a good evening.